Hey YouTube, thought I'd show you guys some crazy idea I just got. So I saw this hot water tank on the side of the road, and obviously now I've cut it in 3 pieces here. And I got thinking that I looked at the date, it's about 10 years old, so they probably changed it precautionary before it started, before it got too old. And I ripped off all the insulation, obviously, as you can see as well. And this is what the tank looks like on the inside. It's actually not that corroded inside after 10 years. And there wasn't that much sediment either. Anyway, my idea is that I'll chop this thing down and keep the existing upper element. Probably cut it to about, maybe like 3 inches below the lower element. And try to clean up the lower piece here and re-weld it on and pressure test it with air. And if it's actually sealed, I might pour some epoxy in there just to protect the welds that are not like, professional welds, just to make it last a little longer. Maybe pour some epoxy. It'll kind of go in that crevice on the side here, and use it as a small hot water tank for my garage, which would not constantly be on. I would have a shut-off valve on it so that I could shut it off, and it would only run when the lights on the inside the garage would be on. So it'd only be when I'd be there, and I would actually shut it off when I leave. So in case there's a leak, it wouldn't blow water everywhere in the shop here. So this is a crazy idea, but it's kind of just for fun as well, trying to recuperate something that was thrown out. And I'll see you guys later when I get a little further with this. All right, here we are again. Just thought I'd show you where I cut the lower part. So right above the weld, you can't really see. Yeah, you see, like, this is the weld right here. So right above that weld, I just sliced it very lightly until I kind of just felt the blade go in, and that's probably my best bet for a spot to weld it, So now what I'm gonna do is get that out of the way, clean up this area real good, and cut the other part of the tank nice and straight. I'll probably use some sort of guide and then weld it back together. See you later. All right, here we are after a good cleaning. Actually interesting to see how this is made. Thought I'd show this. There's actually like a ceramic coating of some sort. You can see how over here I ground away these sort of like sediments and corrosion away, and you can see thick, like the ceramic kind of rubbing away, but it really is not really that eaten up by rust. It's actually like, the metal after cleaning is not much pitted at all. So yeah, this is a pretty well designed tank. The inside had some pretty crusty rust, and after a bit of cleaning with the wheel there, it turned out pretty good. I mean, there's still a little bit in there, but it's only it's not really deep. As you can see, it's just like a little bit on the top. Anyway, thought I'd show 10-year-old tank looks like on the inside. You always wonder if they're gonna blow, but this particular one sure would have gone for several years still. Anyway, all right, so I cut down the top piece straighter. First time was just a quick plasma cut just to get it open, and now she's ready to weld together. Look at that mini hot water tank. If I can get this thing to seal up and maybe epoxy the inside so the welds don't rust up too quickly, this might actually work for a little while. Hey guys, so here we are after welding the tank back together. I just temporarily capped everything off because I want to do a leak check, and I'm no professional welder, so I was expecting some leaks, and I'll show you what that looks like. I used this Sherlock leak detector and spray just a little bit, and that's what happens when it leaks. So I went around and marked everything off. Some of them are much slower, like that one. Actually, that one's not marked. I gotta mark that one. Anyway, so I'm going around now, marking off all the leaks. Then I'll re-weld everything and give it another try. Anyways, we'll see you later. Hey guys, so now I'm at the step where I decided to pour some epoxy primer inside the tank. So what I did is I mixed up some epoxy primer. It's actually green. Makes it nice so I can easily see it with the camera here. So I put the camera, just what I did is I poured it and I rotated the tank around. So as you can see, the seam down there is completely coated in primer. Might be a little thick at the bottom there. I didn't pour it back out, but I figure it's just gonna help it maybe assist protecting those welds. So I'm gonna do this twice. I only mixed 2 tablespoons and basically poured it in and rotated the tank like sideways. You know, I angled it, poured it in, and just rotated it so it makes its way all around. And before I welded the tank, I had also ground down everything inside around, like up to about here. I cleaned it. I cleaned the metal, and of course I could have gone and maybe vacuumed it after I welded it or something, but I figured, you know, it's not like that professional, you know. I want it to last, but there's limits to a little project like this, so that's what I did anyway. I'm gonna do maybe 2 coats of epoxy primer, and then I'll try to mix up some real epoxy and maybe pour that down there as well afterwards. So that's the plan. All right, here we are back at the hot water tank shrinking process shenanigans. So I just finished mixing up some epoxy. This is the stuff I use. Some more expired stuff I got for free. Let's see, expiry 2015. So that's 5 years expired. But this stuff is actually really good when it's for bonding strength. When it's fresh, I'm pretty sure we'll be getting some pretty good, you know, strength out of it anyway here. So it's like 10 to 33, and I use a kitchen grade scale here, nothing but the best, measuring in grams, and then mixed up about 50 grams of it. And then I use this piece of copper pipe, it's a 1/4 inch copper pipe, and I just taped up one of these little popsicle sticks, or I should say coffee mixers, to the end of that, and once I poured it down the hole and just worked it around using this, you know, with my light, just kind of worked it around the crevice inside. And I did 2 coats. I did 1 coat a couple weeks ago, and then just did a 2nd coat. So, and initially I'd put the primer, but I think this stuff alone would have been enough. It's actually, I think it actually has a stronger bonding strength than the primer itself. So I probably should have just put 2 coats of this and that's it. But anyway, that's what I did, and I'll keep you posted. Once this is dry, I'll put everything back on, and we'll do some test runs with some water. Should be interesting. All right, so we're ready to put this tank back together here, and show you what I did. Is that this is the rest of the anode. I actually cut this down. Basically, it's an aluminum anode with, like, it looks like a copper rod in the middle. And there it is installed. So I cut it down to about, I just measured the length, make sure it doesn't touch the bottom, lifted it off about 1 inch. And also the pipe, this is for the inlet, used to be longer, so I cut that down so that's going to be the inlet. The water, the cold water going at the bottom of the tank, and the hot water coming out on top. And then I'll be installing the safety valve and doing some testing on this before I put the insulation back on. So anyway, that's the status so far. So here we are doing a water pressure test and also testing the electrics. I've got this thing connected onto just plugged it into a dryer plug. That's where I plug in my plasma cutter, and wired it up to the heating element with the safety overload still installed, and I reduced the temperature down to like just below 125, so probably around 100, and it's full of water right now, piped in with just a garden hose but with full pressure applied. Everything is all in order. I checked, it's heating, so now I probably let it go for a few hours and see if everything heats up nicely, and then probably check for leaks again and put the insulation back on. Keep on going. All right, here we are again with the hot water tank connected, plumbed in, and running my hand washing station here. So yeah, everything works as planned. I guess now we'll see how long it takes before it starts to leak, but you know, the metal looked pretty good in there, so could take a long time. I also, as mentioned earlier in the video, lowered the temperature to around probably like 40 C or 90 Fahrenheit roughly. So it's just gonna put out nice warm water, well, fairly hot still, for hand washing. You know, I didn't want it to be, since I got the plumbing going direct to the tank and back out to the fountain, it allows me to just set it to what I want it, and also reduces the electricity consumption for this. And every now and then I'll add it. I put a shut-off valve here, but I'll add also a tap and drain the tank every now and then, just to kind of flush the water out if I'm not, you know, because I might not be cycling it as much as inside of a house, you know. But yeah, so there you go. Hot water tank pulled out of the trash, cut up, reattached, rewelded together, sealed, wired back up with one element, and we got enough metal to make a barbecue now left over. See you guys later.